All right. I know we got LAMINE somewhere on here. There he is. Good morning, LAMINE. Oh, you're on mute, buddy.
Good morning, Van. How you doing?
Doing great. It's 2022 and we're still on Zoom, unmuting ourselves like we have been for the last couple of years. Welcome everybody to our leadership masterclass call. We're so excited to be back. We took a little hiatus because of the holidays and the new year, and I hope everybody had a safe and happy holidays and new year. And we are officially in 2022. We are not quite done with this virus, as you can tell. It's still getting to us a little bit, but the good news is the variant seems to be less severe than the last couple we've had, and we're seeing people get better faster and get back to work quicker. So we're wishing everybody, a healthy new year so we can get this business really cranking like we know we can be. And we've already had such an amazing last couple of years, and I feel so honored and lucky to be able to do these calls, to be able to listen in to some of the best owners and leaders in our business and have them share information with us every single week. And before we get back to our Dallas meetings or our regional meetings or our R&Rs, these meetings are very important for us because they're the one chance we get to really listen in to other people across the country. And I know other people travel and are doing other things, which is fantastic, but we really do value the time that people take to do these meetings, to put them together, to come up with these topics and share with you guys. As you guys all know, this is free information. We have a YouTube channel. There's the different links that Maddie puts out for you guys to research all the past videos. But we are really excited to kick off the year with this young man, LAMINE, who is kicking ass. He is currently in Las Vegas, correct?
Yes, sir.
So LAMINE, you have been one of the main leaders on the 5G program. You came from Fios. Your first office was on the East Coast. I forget what city. Where'd you start out as an owner?
Virginia Beach.
Virginia Beach. And you were one of the first people to test out 5G. So you went to Indianapolis, you went to Sacramento before COVID, came back, yep. COVID happened, went back to Fios, and then eventually you relaunched in Cleveland. And you have been one of the main catalysts to help this program grow. And to now, over the next probably week or two, this program is going to hit 300, 400, 500 apps, in a day. And that's really exciting to see. And now you've got 2 promotions on 5G with the 3rd on the way in OKC. You already got 2 promotions on Fios. And so you've been doing a great job. So everybody that's listening in, you guys are hearing from someone who over the last 6 months has been on a tear. And you guys have heard from Austin. You guys have heard from Richard Anderson, Dana Iverson. There's so many examples, but this guy in the telecom world is really on fire. So we're really excited to hear from him. And LAMINE, you want to talk about micromanaging, right? Yes, so I want you to bring up your slides so we can kind of get started. But what do you think is, before you get into your topic, what do you think's been the key for you to have all this growth? I know that 5G is a new product and you're doing great on it, but what's been one of the key elements for you to really just separate yourselves from the pack and have such higher standards than everybody else?
Honestly, just understanding, what the product is, what the mission is, what the goal, what we need to accomplish. And then, the presentation today, micromanaging. So, I know what I'm expecting out of, this program and what I'm doing. And I know what my goals are. So, just basically micromanaging my team, developing them to where, get into, where we need to get to as a whole. So just being on top of my situation, basically.
Yeah. And you're listening to a guy, we talk about opportunity a lot, and he's always been, ready to jump at wherever the opportunity takes him. Sacramento, that's far away from the East Coast. Hey, if it's a test, I'll go. Oh, back to East Coast. Okay, now we're back in Cleveland, no problem. Oh, Las Vegas is the best territory. Let's go. And, we always talk about, if you're ready to follow the opportunity, there's going to be more opportunities available for you. And LAMINE is really grabbing this thing by the horns. And, today his topic is micromanaging. And I remember even LAMINE were mentioning this before the call about the phrase micromanaging can sound like a negative. But for many of you guys that are leaders that are learning how to be entrepreneurial and also learning how to manage teams, micromanaging is not a bad word when done correctly. And if you want to be a successful leader, you're going to have to understand how to manage people on the littlest, smallest things to help them get ahead. So I'm not going to steal any of LAMINE's thunder. Everybody take notes today. You can ask questions in the chat. I'll be taking notes and asking questions. And LAMINE, go ahead and take it away. The floor is yours.
All righty. Well, thank you for having me, Van. We'll go ahead and get started, guys. Like I said, the topic today is micromanaging. You see it says the right way. So like Van said, not as a negative, basically, just doing it the right way to, accomplish your goals and to develop the leaders. So the first thing that we want to go over is the definition. So when you see the actual definition of micromanaging is to manage, especially with excessive control or attention to details. Like we were saying, when people hear micromanaging, it's usually a negative, thought, or they don't want to, pay attention to it because of the first part of the definition, excessive control. So that's not who you want to be, and that's not how you want to micromanage. The part that I care about is the attention to details. We have the saying in the business is, get it 1% better every day. So the way you do that is by you being, paying attention to those details and getting better at those details. So when it comes down to it, there's coach versus a boss. So you want to micromanage as a coach, not as a boss. What I mean by that, you want to develop your people to be self-efficient leaders. So when I look at it, like, all these great coaches out there, like Phil Jackson, Bill Belichick, they don't teach these guys how to play the actual game. They teach them the techniques, what they could get better with every day, the 1% that they could fix to take their game to the next level. So when I think of micromanaging, or when I do micromanage, that's how I do it. Before I could trust somebody to, do the work, because I don't want to delegate to someone just, to take something off my plate. I want to delegate to someone to, do it the right way, so I don't have to go after them and fix it, so to say. So, when you micromanage that process, it gets done the right way, the way you want it. So that way you don't have to go back and fix it or redo it or whatever the case might be. So that's basically the main difference between the way to micromanage. So you always want to look at it as a coach, give advice, break the stuff down, and educate. So you don't want to come off like a boss, like, hey, I told you to do this, why are you not doing it, and stuff like that. So that's the biggest difference there. Now, areas where you could apply micromanaging to develop self-efficient teams. So obviously attitude, you want to make sure everybody's like a happy place for everyone. You don't want people to be nagging out and stuff like that. Leadership mentality, so the way a leader in our business should should think and move and operate. AM atmosphere. So if you have systems in your office and the way things are ran, so you want to make sure, those things are getting done, the right way. Second rounds, same thing. So you want to make sure your second rounds, there's things that you should be saying, things you shouldn't be saying, like the way you word certain things and stuff like that. Car rides, obviously, your car ride is, your office on wheels, basically. So you want to micromanage that and make sure the person running it is doing a great job at it. Also in the field. So, when your team is in the field, you want to make sure, you're keeping in touch with them. You're just, not dropping them off and going about your day, basically. So, and then PM atmosphere, which is the most important one to me, as far as, the business goes, that's where, like I said, you notice those little details so you could fix the next day and have a game plan for your day, basically. So, from certain offices, I know they don't pay attention too much to it, but my PM atmosphere is, one of like the most important parts in the office. So you want to make sure you're giving it a lot of attention, because that's where you fix certain negatives with new starts, or, with your team, or conversations and stuff like that, and set a game plan for the next day. So, the next day doesn't start in the morning when you wake up, but it starts in the PM atmosphere. So you want to, micromanage certain things in there to, so that way it's getting done the right way.
Yep. So I got a comment and kind of a question. So I forgot to mention, I think it's important for everybody to know, LAMINE's best week on 5G is 355 apps in a week. LAMINE, how much do you make per app? You mind if I ask?
Total is, there's kind of two payouts, but to keep it simple is 180.
Okay. And then, so the rep makes, X amount after payroll, taxes and stuff. Usually what are you left with per sale?
About like $80.
Okay. So, I have a calculator. I'm not going to do the math, but typically, LAMINE's been doing over 200 apps a week pretty consistently. And then that's with the holidays and with COVID and all this stuff that we're dealing with. And so I'm bringing that up is because he went through all this list of things that as leaders, you guys are all dealing with and you're managing. And then those key words so far that I've heard is attention to detail when it comes to micromanaging. And I know for a lot of the leaders listening, we kind of first experience this when we're coaching someone, when we're teaching someone how to sell in the field. And LAMINE, you remember when we first taught someone eye contact or how to smile, every little detail mattered, right? If someone was, blinking with one eye or looking away, that customer might not trust them. You could lose the sale, right? If someone didn't smile in a certain way, the customer might become uncomfortable. If a person was standing slightly odd, the customer might lose trust. So if you take that attention to detail that you coach people on sales and you apply it to all these things that are going on with your team, and you really pay attention to everything that could be hurting you or them, that's really what he's talking about. And so my question would be, how as a leader can you, or would you give advice to a leader on how to approach this without coming across overbearing, right? Because like, I know when I first kind of learned this, I was like way too intense about it. And I kind of came across like I was a control freak too much. And it's good to be a control freak, but it's like important how to deliver that message appropriately to people so they don't think you're some tyrant. So how do you go about that with all these different topics that are happening every day?
Yeah, so that's a great question because a lot of people, when like you said, they handle it the same way, like they come off like a drill sergeant or dictator, so to say. So you always want to understand the person that you're dealing with. They're new to the business, so they're new to all these things. So you want to break down the why behind every situation that you go over, right? So you don't want to just tell them, hey, I told you do this way and stuff like that. So you want to break it down to where hey, the reason we do this, from an educational point of view. So break down the why. This is why we stand this way, like you said. This is why we keep eye contact. Remember, we talked about the C factors. This is why you smile, because all these things are going to play in your favor to where they're going to help you get the sale and make your job easier in the long run. So by doing it this way, this is the results that you're going to get. So and then obviously for the most part, people are smart. They're going to understand it and apply it.
Yep. And you look at the conversations about attitude, you look at the conversations like we've been talking a lot in my office about taking notes, what I'm saying, for impacts, taking notes for morning meetings. So when you pull a leader inside your office and you tell them, hey, you listen, here's why we take notes. If you're building a team and you want people to learn quickly, and you want them to be a good student, you've got to be a good student yourself. And if you're not taking notes, you can't expect your team to take notes. So that's kind of why it's important you do it. Even if it's the same impact you've heard 20 times, right? So it's kind of like if you pay attention to all those details like LAMINE's talking about, and you have a million conversations about little things while explaining the why, understanding where someone's at, understanding they're new. There might be a new leader, there might be a new rep, but you've got to attack these things and you've got to pay attention to every little thing that's going on and do some correcting. Because if you don't, eventually a bad habit forms and it's really hard to fix it after it's already formed as a habit. Good stuff, man.
Exactly. Yep. And the main thing, like you said, you got to be the example. So you can't tell people to do something that you're not. So you have to be, the example, so you could duplicate that to, to other people. So, just making sure, that's taken care of before you have these conversations, or else you're going to come out as a dictator, like, hey, I need you to do this, and that, but you're not doing it. So, it's effective when you're doing it, and then you're coaching them and breaking down the right way, to do it. So that's when it becomes effective. So definitely, all great points. Now, the next slide. So leadership mentality. So, developing standards for your team. So like Van said, I have certain standards in my office and, I need my team to, move up to it or live up to it. So I'm not going down to their standards because I've been in the field, I've been in the business for a while. I know what it takes to get to the next level. Like I said, it's like the coach, the coach knows what needs to be done to win games and championships. So that's how I look at it. So I'm not going to lower my standards just because I like this guy or I want to retain this guy. So I want to coach them the right way to, win championship games. So they're breaking it down, developing their mentality is important, and then walking them through it. So eliminating excuses, the way you should be thinking instead of, giving excuses to every situation is being more solution oriented. I know when I started, we used to do those Friday calls that Ken used to do. And, one of the first things that I've heard and it stuck with me was, if you have a problem, think of two solutions before you come to me. So one of them might be correct or both of them might be wrong, but either way is you're training your brain to find solutions. So that way from there, we could have a conversation about it. So it's not like as soon as a problem happened, like, hey, I got this going on and this happened and that happened. Try to find solutions first, and then, go to your leader or to your manager, like, hey, this is what I got going on. This is what I could do, or I could do this here. So, one of them might be, the right way to go about it, or maybe both of them are wrong, and, you're going to get the right advice from your leader or your manager. So definitely, training your mind to be more solution oriented, and then looking at the positives in every situation. So the other thing is inspect what you expect culture. So when you're breaking things down, when you're teaching, when you're developing your people, you always want to inspect what's going on. So if I delegate a task to somebody, I want to make sure I'm following that person, seeing what they do, and it's getting done the right way. So if I'm telling someone, I don't know, like giving them a task, like kind of leads for a car ride. So I always, go behind it and see how it's done, and see how they cut those leads for the car ride, and based on the conversations that we had. So that way I could see this person, like, okay, he did a great job. I could trust him moving forward to do these things. Or I need to work with this person on X, Y, and Z, so that way he could get better with, cutting leads or whatever the task might be. So, having that culture, like I said, it always going to allow you to play offense instead of defense. So it always going to show you to, the things that you need to work on and improve upon with your team. Instead of waiting for problems to happen, then you go behind them to fix it, and it's not going to be a good situation for you moving forward. So just developing that culture in your office and in your leaders, that's a great way to have a strong team and a strong mentality for your leadership core. And the last one, developing different perspectives. So the way to look at things. There was a video from Simon Sinek about skiers. One of the things he was talking about is us as people, we always focus on things not to do. So he was like, with skiers, when they go through trees, they always focus on, oh, don't hit the tree, and then they end up hitting the tree. But instead, focus on the path, like follow the snow, and then you won't have to focus on the tree, basically. So same thing with what we do. So developing a different perspective of what we do. Negatives are going to happen, situations are always going to arise, but like I said, being solution oriented, developing people's perspective, instead of thinking this way, think this way, so that way there's more of a positive outcome, and part of a positive workflow, so to say.
Yeah. Well, it also seems like, especially when people first become leaders, the common trend you'll see is they sort of plop negatives on their manager's lap, or they'll plop negatives on their leader's lap because that person hasn't been trained on how to solve things. And I love what you talked about teaching your people to find solutions, because many times when you look at micromanaging, what ends up happening is people end up doing a lot of babysitting, right? Where they have all these people they're trying to manage, and every time they have a problem, they're like, well, let me fix it for you, right? Okay, what can I do to fix it? And you're making your team weak, and you're wasting a lot of your time. Where if you were to take someone, like if LAMINE's on my team and LAMINE has an issue with his territory, instead of me, tell him, oh, next time I'll cut you better leads, well, that wouldn't really be a helpful solution. I really need to ask him, well, what do you think you should have done? What are some options for you? And training LAMINE how to be a problem solver himself, and to where he won't need me to solve his problems, right? So really what LAMINE's telling us is, your way of solving your people's problems is teaching them how to be effective problem solvers for themselves, while still asking questions, right? You don't want people to shoot first and ask questions later, but he's telling his people, hey, come up with a couple solutions before you come to me and just bring up a negative. And I think that's a really important topic, to where you guys will save a lot of headaches and time by basically delegating responsibility to people and giving them that freedom to make those choices after they've already thought of solutions to it. So I don't have a question. I just think that's an awesome subject that you brought up. And guys, if you have questions, please fire them in the chat. We got a lot of people on today, so I know when the questions get rolling, it can get intense and fun, but don't be afraid to ask questions. So LAMINE, go ahead and continue.
Absolutely. So the next thing is office. So like I said, your systems is all team. So if somebody's not there, them seeing what's going on, eventually you want them to let you know ahead of time, so you don't have to, send them ETA text messages. I know I used to hate those when I got them, but just developing that mentality. Like I said, if somebody's going to be late, have that conversation with them. Why are we late? They're going to give you a reason or whatever, and you give them the solution, like, hey, next time, instead of shooting to be here at 11 o'clock, let's make sure we're aiming to be here at 10:45. So if something happens, traffic or whatever case might be, you have that 15-minute leeway. And if there's no traffic, then you're 15 minutes early and you get to network or work on what you need to work on. So time management is important for office, also office routine and systems. Like I said, whatever your office system is, you want to make sure you're applying it the right way. Everybody's doing the same thing at the same time. You don't want to have, two people pitching, one person is outside, doing who knows what, answering calls or whatever the case might be, and then another person running to the restroom or whatever. So you want to have, a system to where everybody's doing the same thing at the same time. So that way, all you guys are on point with every single thing. And then it becomes like, basically what you wanted to have is like a well-oiled machine. So everybody's doing, the same thing at the same time. Training room. So training room organization is important. So what I like to do for my guys is, separating them, distributors pitching with team leaders, or if there's two distributors pitching together, a team leaders between them to coach and make sure they're doing the right things. They're not just, huddled up, having conversations, talking about, video games or sports or whatever the case might be, but they're in the training room pitching or doing what needs to be done. So just developing your team to, do those things, but you have to start with, setting that example. You have to start by telling them this is what the schedule is and everything like that, and make sure, it's getting handled the right way. Office image. So I know in certain offices, they dress business professional. Certain offices, they come field ready and stuff like that. So it depends on, whatever your office image is, you want to make sure everybody's aligned with that. So, you want to make sure you're looking the part and you're doing everything that needs to be done. So following game plans. So if last night we talked about, today we're going to work on this one rebuttal. So, following through with it. So making sure you're working on that rebuttal with your team. If, I have a new guy and we need to do, break evens for them. So I'm sitting down with them and, doing that break even. I'm doing their SMART goals. I'm doing all these things that need to be done. I'm not just brushing it off and, it's going to get done later and stuff. So whatever you talk about, you're getting it done. So, and that's, that's important basically for your office to make sure, you're setting that example, like we said, and then your team leaders that you have in your team are following through with it. And lastly, when it comes to the office is how, office flow. So you want it to be, like I said, like a well-oiled machine. So you want to make sure, all these things are done the way, you want them to be done. So that way you don't have to worry about doing them down the line, or not worrying about doing them forever, basically. So you just coach your guys. This is our schedule. This is the office image. This is how we want X, Y, and Z to be done. And then basically developing the guys to where they're doing it the same way that you're expecting them to do it. So that way they could do it without you having to babysit them. So like we said,
So I know that for me, I had a big challenge of like trying to take control of my team in the office sometimes, and I also was very afraid of trying to have constructive conversations with people if I felt like some of these things were off, where people, it wasn't a well-oiled machine. People were kind of lazily getting into the impacts. People during practice pitch would leave and go to the bathroom. There was these things I saw that just really pissed me off, but I didn't know what to do. I was like, I don't want to come across a certain way. So I had to really learn how to have these conversations. So, and then once I did, it became, okay, it makes sense. But it's almost like you need to have that captain of the team mentality. And I think for some people that's not natural because they've never practiced that before. So I guess my question would be, what do you recommend for leaders who are building teams, but they don't feel like they don't want to overstep their boundaries by taking control of people and telling them what to do, or educating them? How would you go about it? Would you have them, bring them into your office, to a manager's office? What do you recommend they do?
Yeah, absolutely. 100% what you said. So, I was like that at the beginning. I was like, oh, that's not my business. I don't want to overstep it, or like, oh, I'm cool with this guy. I don't want to come off, like their boss or whatever. So the best way to do it, like you say, either grab that person, or not before you even grab them, is just going to the manager. Hey, this is what's going on. This is what we need to talk to this person about, and then grabbing that person and have the manager have that conversation while you sit there and watch. Or if you're a newer team leader, grab a more seasoned team leader, like an assistant manager, and then have them, have that conversation while you watch. And then, that's the first time that conversation is being had, and then you learn how to do it. So, and like I said, the key to all this, to micromanage in the right way, is coming off as a coach, not a boss. So always explaining the why behind every single thing that you talk about. So it's not coming off like, hey, we need you to do this. This is how it needs to be done. Just do it. So it's breaking down why it needs to be done this way and what's the benefits of it. So, the one thing that I like to do is put in people in my shoes. So when you get promoted and, you're managing an office, do you want to, run around after everybody like, hey, you need to be doing this, let's do this, let's do that? Or you want to have everybody, self-sufficient to where they know what to do and they're getting it done. And most of the time people, they tell you like, oh, I want to, have it to where everybody knows what to do and they're getting it done. So, and then you just break that down. Like, this is why, we need to do X, Y, and Z, because we want to develop that culture basically. So, like I said, you want to have that office flow like like a well-oiled machine. And, one example, even on FiOS, our highest, week was 325 sales on FiOS. So, and that week I wasn't even on the office. We were in the Dominican on R&R. So, the people that are left behind me, they knew the systems, they were well developed and everything, to where our highest week in the business was me not even there for most of the week. I was in R&R, and it was our highest week, as an office. So, but the people that are left behind me, like I said, I trusted them with everything. They knew how to do everything. And then the systems that were in place, like I said, they were like a well-oiled machine. So everybody knew what to do.
Yeah. And it's so important what you said about using your managers and using your seasoned leaders to your advantage. I think sometimes we're so afraid to bring our team's problems to our managers because we're worried that it'll reflect weakness in us. But I use them all the time. Like, my owner, I would just say, hey, I have this guy, he keeps showing up late. Like, what do I do? And he's like, bring him into my office. And so I would sit there and watch the conversation. Hey, I have this guy. I would just walk in and, hey, I have this guy. He looks really negged out in atmosphere. Bring him in. And I would watch and learn and watch and learn, because I wasn't familiar having those conversations. Hey, I have this leader. He keeps leaving atmosphere, because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle it. And so, hey, bring him in. And by watching your owner and watching your assistant manager have these conversations, eventually you start picking it up. And eventually you start saying, all right, I'm going to have this conversation now. And as leaders, our job is to develop people. It's not to let them hang out and then let them go down the wrong stream. We have to correct course. And you might think you're being some sort of bad guy, but you're really being a good guy. You're being a good guy by having these tough, critical conversations with people. And if you don't, that's where really you become the bad guy. So I love what LAMINE mentioned about, using your managers, using your assistant managers or your top leaders to help you learn how to have these tough conversations. And once you know how to do them, they're not really tough, right? We look at them as they're actually fun. We enjoy these conversations. We used to be afraid of them, but now we know how important they are to someone's development. And then when you do have them and you see the difference, you're like excited to have more of them, right? And it doesn't make them easy. It just makes them productive. And that's the most important part, is to make your days productive and make the conversations productive. So really good stuff.
Exactly. So yeah, like you said, basically, like, now I look forward to these conversations. Like, throughout my day in the office, I look for things to fix, because every time I fix something, I know I'm moving, the right way, and, I'm getting better, and the office is getting better. So I'm not waiting for problems to happen. I'm looking for the problem and fixing it before it happens. And then I'm educating somebody on how to do it as well. So that way, everybody's learning in that situation. So like I said, coming off like a coach, not a boss. So, in some games you have your coach, yelling at you, cursing at you, whatever it is, but because he knows what needs to be done, to win that championship game. So that's how I look at it. And, I'm not yelling the first time and stuff like that. I'm having, educational conversation. The second time, it might be a little bit rough with more education. And then the third time, that's when, kind of, the strict conversation comes out. So it's just having that to where, you having like those standards. So this is what needs to be done. So, it's taking those steps to do it. So, and training people how to do it. So that way it gets done without you involved in it. And then your people are learning how to do it as well. So
Yeah.
you're developing those leadership skills and, your office is moving forward every day.
And the other thing, which is important for how to micromanage people, is everybody's different, right? And so it's not like there's this cookie cutter conversation you have with a person that's late. It's like, no, it's got to be based on the person. And I didn't really understand that. I was hoping that there was some exact conversation I could just keep repeating and it would work every time, but it's totally not the case. And the only way to learn and understand how to have different conversations for different people is to watch people do it. And then to have a conversation after that. Hey, how come when this person was late, you got really upset and it was really more of a bottom line? And when this person showed up late, you didn't even talk much about it. You asked them how they were doing, if everything okay. And I had to understand that. And the only way is by observing and learning the differences in people, because if you got 20 people in your office, 25 people, there's 25 different conversations. It's not all the same one, even though the subject matter may be similar, the way you approach it is different, right? And so all that stuff comes from observing, learning, and using your leaders and the resources you have to help you get better at these things, not hiding from it, not expecting to fix it yourself, being a student of the game and always trying to learn where can I get better in these conversations. So like LAMINE said, if you can always look at every detail and think of it as until it's perfect or until it's done the right way, I need to coach people. That's how you're going to build a stronger team.
Absolutely, 100%. Now, next, the most important one when it comes to our business is car rides.
Great picture. I like this picture.
Thank you. So car rides is, it's the most important thing when it comes to the business. The way I look at it, your car ride is your office on wheels. So the way your car ride operates is how you're going to be as a manager. So if your car ride performs, if they don't perform, if your car ride is getting new trainees every day and, they're leaving the business or whatever the case might be, that's all a reflection of you. So when it comes to the car rides, there's some key things that I'd like to focus on to make sure my car ride is, great for everybody and there's a great atmosphere. So when it comes to music and conversation, so the number one thing is educating your guys on the type of music to play. I like rap, the next person might not like rap. So I like country music, the next person might not like country music. So it's just having, something to where everybody's, happy. So, what I like to do is have like, kind of like house music on the background, like, background music, so we could have conversations in the car ride. We're having fun, getting to know each other and stuff like that, and not just, have the music loud and we're driving to the territory and that's it. So I look at car rides, to get to know my people. Like, yeah, we're not in the office or we're not out pitching, but that's where I get to know that my people, basically what games they like to play, what sports they like to watch, who's their favorite player, why, certain things like that. So those are kind of things that, I like to talk about in the car ride, my goals, their goals, whatever it is. And then obviously, the second bullet, there's professionalism. So we're not talking about, oh, I'm going to this party this weekend, or, what club you like to go to and all these things. So keeping everything professional, because at the end of the day, like I said, your car ride is your office on wheels. And then eventually when you do get promoted, those people are going to be in your office. So you don't want to develop that type of relationship with them. You want to look at it like, these are my partners. So I'm developing a partnership with my car ride and not a friendship. So if you're looking for friends, you went to high school, college, whatever case might be, you have, some of your friends that you hang out with, you're not coming to work to, develop friends. Basically, you're coming to work to develop, business partners and long-term partners. So that's what you're looking for. So keep that in mind, because a lot of people tend to get comfortable during the car rides, and that's a big negative, because what you see as, oh, I'm being cool with this guy and I'm getting comfortable X, Y, and Z, and that guy might look at it different. or somebody else in the car ride that could, look at it different and leave the business because of that. So you always want to, control those things and keep them simple to where they could play in your advantage. So that's the most important thing when it comes to, running a car ride, and you want to keep that in mind. Also, the other thing, productivity and territory, territory management, like, Van said earlier, if there's a situation about, a certain territory, it's not like, oh, tomorrow I'm gonna give you easy territory. It's basically coaching that person and developing that mentality, how to overcome that negative, how to go about it. One thing that I talked to Joy, way back like 2 years ago, and when we were talking about, micromanaging, she was like, yeah, I like the story, and she remembered it, even though I forgot it, was when I was going through the field, Ramsey, which is my promoting owner, he had a system for, for the field. So he basically, the way each team leader or each car ride leader, he had a city. So we had a lot of cities, in DC basically. So each person had a city, and they were assigned to that city. And you with your car ride and your team, you work in that city until you hit certain goals. Then you could switch to a different city. So basically, I was on a road trip. So when I came back, a lot of people chose their cities already when he started doing it. So the only city that was left, it was like 45 minutes away. And people didn't want to do it, get it, because they didn't want to drive and stuff like that. So that was the only city that was left. So I took it. Me and my car ride started going there. I was pumping them about, the whole time about hitting the city. I was like, yeah, making it seem, it's a golden territory. Nobody hits it because, it's far and this and that, and they don't want to drive, so they don't get pitched a lot and everything. So we go there and we start, producing and everything. And now the whole office wants to, go to that city after that. So it's just basically your perspective and how to look at things. And then, the goal that we needed to hit in a month, we hit it basically in 2 weeks or 2 weeks and a half, because of the intensity and the way I promoted that city and the way we went into it. So, definitely, the way you manage your territory is going to make or break a lot of things, in your business. So you want to understand that and always promote it the right way, have conversations when it's needed, and not run into the easiest thing, which is like, oh, not a problem, you had X, Y, and Z problems, I'm gonna give you an easier territory tomorrow so you could produce. But instead, developing that mentality that you could produce anywhere, you just, the way you go about things and the way you handle that situation is what's different. So you want to coach your car ride how to do that. So one thing that I'd like to, advertise in my car ride is, you could get two anywhere, like on Fios, like you can get two sales anywhere. So anywhere you go, high income, low income, mid income, houses, apartments, townhouses, it doesn't matter where you go, you could get two anywhere. It's just the way you go about it. So it's the way you talk, the way you break down things, the way you look in the field, the way your mentality is. So always coaching that car ride, because like I said, that's eventually going to be your office. But if you're the one enabling the car ride, oh, I'm gonna give you an easy territory, or I'm gonna do this, or I'm gonna give you that, then as an owner in business, you're going to be the same way. You're going to be that owner that, when people come with problems, you're just going to give them the easy solutions, and you're not challenging them. You're not making them better. You're just, making it easy on them. So that's not something you want to do. You always want to challenge your guys, develop their mentality and make them stronger. So that's definitely, something that, you want to pay attention to. Also time efficiency. So, if you're leaving the field, getting lunch or whatever the case might be, it's, looking at where your territory is and how long it's going to take you to get there. So sometimes there's traffic, so it's not best for you to get lunch around the office and with the other car rides. It's best for you to get to near the territory where you're going to be working, so that way once you get there, you know how much time you have left to get lunch and then hit the territory. So if you get there and you have 10 minutes left, like, hey, we're hitting the gas station, we're grabbing some sandwiches or whatever, and then we're going straight to the territory. If you get there and you have 20 minutes left, all right, cool, we can go, to McDonald's or whatever case might be. So, just being aware of that time, because, I tell everybody, time is your biggest enemy in the field. So you want to set up your car ride for, for success. Basically, you want to get them there on time so they can have enough time for the laws of average to play out, because not everybody's you. If you're great in the field, the next person might not, or you have distributors or somebody that went, newly solo. So you want to give them that time in the field for the laws of averages to play out, and not be selfish and look at it like, oh yeah, if I get an hour late or 30 minutes late, I'll be fine. but then your car ride won't produce. So like I said, the mentality that you develop in your car ride, you're going to be the same way as an owner. So you always want to keep that in mind. And then basically calling your team at 5 and 7, so checking up on them. So, giving them a call to develop that mentality a little bit more, not asking about numbers. So when I call my team, it's not like, at 5 o'clock, hey, what are you on? So you don't want to do that, because, even if you're on 1 or 2, you're going to, mess up their attitude when, like I said, the laws of averages need to play out. Certain territories, you could get 1 app every lap. Certain territories, you don't get anything until the last lap or the last 30 minutes. So you want to coach them on that mentality and not talk numbers. The only numbers that I ask about: how many houses did you hit? How many talk-tos did you get? How many, presentations and stuff like that. And through those numbers, you're gonna, it's safe to assume what this person is on. And then the way they talk and the way they sound on the phone and stuff like that is gonna tell you basically. So, but use, that time to coach them based on those numbers. So if, let's say, I'm calling somebody at 6 o'clock and they needed to hit, 40 houses or 50 houses, but they only hit, 30 houses. It's like, hey, what's going on with the pace, man? Let's make sure we're picking it up at 6 o'clock. A lot of the DMs are getting home. So let's make sure we're picking up that pace, not wasting time with the wrong people, not wasting too much time with the old people, getting caught up on their conversations and everything like that. So it's just having those conversations to get the best results, and not just calling like, oh, you on 0, let's make sure we're picking up. We need to end on 1 today, or we need to do 2 today. So it's just, coming like a coach, like I said, is breaking down their day from the top down. So that way you understand what they're going through and give them the right advice on it. And then, not bringing the field to the car ride. So a lot of times what a lot of leaders do when they get picked up at the end of the night, as soon as they come into the car, like, oh, what'd you finish on today? Or like, oh, I had this one customer, or I had this situation. They start talking about it. You want to control your car ride and, like I said, micromanage it, because that's your situation, that's your office. You might have somebody in training that's a first day or second day. So if somebody comes in a car ride and they're nagging out about a situation, I had X, Y, and Z happen, that person is going to look at it as a negative, and they might not come back, because they didn't know, like, oh, I could encounter this in the field, or I didn't know these things happen. So we know those things happen, but we want to talk about them when we get to the office and break down our day. The car ride basically is like safe, a safe, playful environment. So you want to have a positive environment going to the field and coming back from the field. So you shouldn't be talking about numbers. You shouldn't look like you rolled it or whatever. If you did 0 or you did 7 sales, your attitude should be the same. Come back, great attitude, happy, talkative with everybody. Well, I had a great day, this and that. And, same thing, get to know people and stuff like that, but not bring the field to the car ride, basically, because there's different situations that's happening there. Either somebody new that went solo, or like I said, a day 1 or a day 2, where they they don't need to be hearing these things. So just like the main thing is, like I said, not bringing the negatives back to the car ride, so that way you're controlling the success of that team, basically. And then systems and habits developing the car ride. So like I said, those systems is non-negotiable for me. So if I'm running a car ride, we're not talking about numbers at all. We're not talking about the negatives that happen in the field at all. Those things, they should be talked about once you get to the office and PM atmosphere, and there's the right ways to do that as well. So that way, not everybody, is listening to those negatives. And then sometimes even like certain people, when they hear one excuse, everybody starts using it, even though that's not true. They start using it because they heard, this person say it. One thing, my office and files, what I noticed, one person like, oh yeah, I wasted a lot of times, with window shoppers. And then everybody started, for like 2 weeks, I kept hearing like all the new guys using the same excuse, basically, like, oh, I did one because, the other 3, they were window shoppers, and I wasted 30 minutes with them. And, I was like, what the hell? Like, I never heard this before. And then this one person say it, and then the whole office is like, it's a trend. So you want to control those things, because like, I can't coach my team or my office on excuses that didn't really happen. So if you're stealing this excuse from this one person and you're using it as your own, I can't really coach you and, give you the advice that you need to get better in your day and to be more successful, basically.
Yeah. Wow. Holy crap. That was like I remember when I first learned car rides when I was going through the field and I went to Dallas and I heard all these impacts, like this totally changed my training program because there were so many problems happening in the car ride that were bleeding into the rest of the office. And it's the one time of the day where the manager's not around. Well, there's the whole field part of it, but it's the one time where you as the leader get to take the role of a manager. And if you don't take this time seriously, it really hurts you. And there's a couple of things I want to ask. The first one was the calls, right? So I know you call your team at 5 and 7. Now I'm assuming if you're building a big team that are you calling everyone or are you letting the car ride leaders call their car ride? Like how, because I know.
Yeah. So
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, good question. So if I have like a big team and I have, other car ride leaders, I'm calling the car ride leaders and, hey, how's your car ride doing this and that? Because let's say at 5 o'clock, they should be calling their team. And then let's say I call them at 5:15, like, hey, how's your car ride doing? What are you guys dealing with and stuff like that. So I just talk to, to the car ride leaders and get the advice from them. And then if I hear like a negative with one rep in the other car ride, sometimes I give them a call like at 5:30, 5:45, like, hey man, what's going on? How are we looking out there? Which I already have the inside scoop from his car ride leader. Like he told me already, like, oh, he sounds like this, or he's encountering this, or this is going on. So when I call, I act like, I don't know anything about it. Like, hey, what's going on, man? How's everything? Just to see like if he took the advice from the car ride leader and he's applying it, or if I need to, reinforce it, so to say, like, say the same thing that the car ride leader told him. So that way it's more, it has more weight basically. So
Yep.
if I have, I don't have like a big team, I'm calling, everybody that's in my team basically.
Yeah, and I think it's important that leaders know that your job is not to be on the phone all day, right? Your job is to be in the field, setting the pace and talking to people. And I think there's been a culture across the whole country of leaders, especially when they're starting to build teams, they end up doing a lot of babysitting over the phone, where people are asking a lot of product knowledge questions. And okay, that's fine, but I've got to train my people to understand, like, I'm not available, during the field. I'm talking to customers, and I got to train, my leaders, if they're managing their car rides, to not be on the phone calling all their guys all day, right? We're not training people to need babysitting. We're training them to be self-sufficient. And I think you guys, as an example to your people, need to not be on your phone. And I know a lot of offices have GroupMe. I told my whole office, turn your notifications off, like turn them off. You don't need to be getting notified every single time someone drops an app. When you drop an app, if you want to post it, that's cool. But, we are in the field to talk to people, right? And so I think that the whole car ride thing is really important, but it's also important that you guys are understanding you have a job to do in the field, which is to be focused on talking to customers, right? So that's obviously really, really important. And then one of the questions we had in the chat was, how do you explain to new guys to not talk about the numbers? I know that was a big challenge when people come back. Oh, I almost got a sale, or, oh, this was, so close, or this customer said F you or whatever. And so they bring back a lot of sales oriented conversations. How do you tell them or teach them not to look at it that way?
So it's breaking it down, like I said. So if it's, a trainee that's with me and, we're walking back to the car, as we're walking back to the car, I'm breaking down that situation, like, oh, that person that said F you or whatever, we don't want to bring those things in the car rides, because that's like one situation that happened, probably the person was having a bad day or whatever. So, we don't want to talk about it, because, they had a bad day. So it's not because of us that, he said F you or whatever. It's because, whatever he's going through in his personal life. So just, like I said, it's always like giving that different perspective and, crushing it. And then if it's somebody that's already solo, by that time, by the time he goes solo, he already knows the culture of the car ride. So he's been in training either with me or a different leader that's in my car ride, that they know the systems and they know the culture, how everything should be handled. So they shouldn't be talking about those things until we get back to the office when we're doing like day breakdowns and stuff like that. And that's when we talk about it.
Yeah. One of the ways I remember being taught was, so let's say, and you guys need to teach people this when they're very, very new. So like when you have a trainee with you, that's kind of where you begin the day one, where you start telling them, hey, listen, when we go back to the car ride, there's going to be, we got to make sure that we're not over promoting sales, right? And the reason why I tell them this is because, what we think is a good day, that might be, way better than somebody else's good day. Like, oh, we did 3 apps today. We go back in the car ride saying, hey, we did 3 apps. What if I got a new guy that did 1 app that thought he had a good day, and he did, but now he's going to think he had a crappy day because we're rubbing it in his face that we did more, and we got to keep things in perspective. And what if, we go back and we did 1 and they did 3? It just becomes this conversation where we're changing the perspective of new people, and we need to have people focus on the system and the law of averages. And this is another thing too that we talked about, was going back to the office and ringing the bell is our way of showing off that we did what we needed to do. But on top of that, telling people, hey, like, you're looking to build a team of people that focus on the system. And if people are focused on sales and they're not thinking about the system in which they get it, their brain's going to be backwards, where they're going to be overturning too many objections. They're going to be getting too aggressive and pushy. And that's the last thing we want. And it ends up leading to poor sales, soft selling, and high cancels. And so it's kind of like, you need to train your people on these things, car rides, mentality, way, way early in the game. And I also, one of the things to handle negatives that LAMINE talked about was, if I have a solo rep, I have a conversation with him on the side or her on the side before we go in the field. And I say, hey, listen, I know you're going to go out there today. It's your first day solo, go crush it. Just make sure when I pick you up at the end of the day, we just got to keep things positive. You can't come back to the car ride with negatives or stories and things like that. We really just need to make sure we're a good example, because I'm training somebody today and they are very new and they're very impressionable. And if they see you come back with crazy stories or a negative attitude, it's going to really put a bad taste in their mouth. So we just got to come back each day, no matter what, even if you did 4 apps or you didn't, come back with a consistent, even keel attitude, and let's just focus on breaking down our day. And that's all because we want to train our new people to have that strong attitude as well. Does that make sense? And I got to have that conversation way before we hit the field. So it's all about preempting these negatives, right? And I have another question. LAMINE, do you have another slide? Sorry.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry. Keep going. We have 5 minutes. I don't want to interrupt.
All right, so the last one basically is PM atmosphere. So day breakdown. So like I said, that's the most important part of the day, because that's where you do a lot of coaching, a lot of development, and a lot of, putting things in different perspectives. So like I said, going over what we did great, what we need to improve on, setting goals for tomorrow. So the way the system works in my office, or, since I was a team leader, is when we get back to the office, if I was training, I'm breaking down my day and the trainees' day. This is what we did today. This is what we did great. Like I said, this is what we need to improve on for tomorrow. High five, you pitched 5 people today. Let's make sure we focus on the qualifying questions tomorrow, or on the presentations, or whatever they need to work on. Then taking that person to settle up, so that way you can get them out of the office, as quick as possible. And then, I'm going back, breaking down, my team's days, my car rides days. And then, like I said, that's where I'm doing, more coaching and more, build, break, build, when it comes to their days and stuff like that. And then, preparing for the next day. So if I'm noticing, trends with my office, like I said, everybody using the same excuse, or everybody giving me the same negatives. So that's the time that I coach my team, how to overcome it, and, change their perspective, the way they look at it. It's like one of those things, like, the glass half full or half empty. So if they're looking at it half empty, is, giving them what they need to look at the glass half full. Like, well, you're negging out about X, Y, and Z, but in reality, we need to focus on A, B, C. So, you're telling me you had these 3 customers that you couldn't close because of this, but the problem is you only had those 3 customers. Like, why we're not talking to more people? Why is, you only visited X amount of houses? Why, you didn't do more presentations? So it's focusing on those type of things, instead of coming back and, oh, I did 1 and, 3 credit kills or whatever, or 2 credit kills. Well, you're supposed to, when people tell me that, the system says you're supposed to have 3 credit kills, or you're supposed to have 4 credit kills, or whatever it is. Like, those things they're going to happen. You can't control it. You're not going to control people's credit, or if they owe Verizon or not, or if they owe AT&T or not. That's not on me. So what you could control is your pace, your pitch. When those things happen, when I know I'm working that type of territory, my pace got to be better, on point. So I got to hit more houses. I got to make up for those credit kills. So, it's me adjusting to that territory, so that way I could have a successful day. So like I said, it's not getting hung up on the negatives that they give you, but breaking down those negatives and putting it back on them. And it's like, yeah, I understand these negatives, you dealt with X, Y, and Z, but why is ABC like the system, the top, like, we only did one lap. We only hit, 50 houses instead of 60 or 70. We only had, 20 talk tos instead of, 30, 40 talk tos. Because if you talk to more people, you would have, the laws of averages would have played out, in your favor, when it comes to signing up people. Like I tell everybody is, if I give you $1 million for a half course shot, how many shots do you want to take? One or unlimited? They always say, obviously unlimited until I make it. So it's the same thing with what we do. Like you're shooting yourself in the foot by talking to 20 people and putting 5 of them to the tablet. That's why, 3 fell credit, 1, faked on you last minute, and then you signed up that 1. But if you gave yourself more chances, you talk to more people, you put more people to the tablet, then you would have let the laws of averages play out to where you found the right people to sign up. Because people are going to fail credit all the time. These things are going to happen all the time. So it's on you to control what you can, which picking up the pace, having a great attitude, having a smile on your face when you go into the doors, the way you stand, Calvin and all that. So focusing on what you could control and not the things that you can't control. Because if you focus on the things that you could control, you could always fix them and get better at them. But if you focus on the things that you can't control, then you're always given an excuse to why you can't get better, or why you can't overcome that hump that you have, or why you can't close these people, because you're not putting things on your control. So you're leaving them in the air, like on the other person. But if you're putting it back on you, then you're able to fix what needs to be fixed and then get the results that you want to get. So that's the mentality that I have, in the day breakdowns and PM atmosphere. So you want to have, that's where you're teaching a lot of mentality, changing perspectives, and, teaching a lot of why when it comes to the field and breaking it down. And then we're setting goals for tomorrow, what we need to work on. So, you thought you're going to be working on, this rebuttal, but looking at your day, we need to work on that pitch. So, that's what we're going to be working on tomorrow. Or we're going to be working on your C factors. You look like an angry security guy or whatever at the door, so you want to make sure you're smiling. You want to make sure you're having the eye contact. You want to have that you're far from the door. You're not like right at people's doors. As soon as they come out, you're right there in front of them. So you're educated based on these things, and then setting a game plan for the next day. Like I said, the next day starts the night before, so you want to keep that in mind. And that's where you play kind of damage control. So that way, you're talking to your people, you're giving them advice, and then you're cheering them up. If they had a bad day, you're cheering them up, getting them excited about tomorrow.
Nice. That's really good. Well, we greatly appreciate this impact today, LAMINE. So thorough, so many details on, you basically just broke down how to do a day as a leader, kind of what to focus on, how to conversate with people about car rides, PM atmosphere, what are the key elements? And my final, I guess, little question before we end is, when it comes to teaching and coaching people, I'm assuming for you, LAMINE, you use a lot of self-jonesing, right? So whenever you're coaching people, you're a relatable coach, right? So you mentioned, hey, I remember being in your shoes. So how often are you using that as a technique when you're teaching people to do things the right way?
All the time, like literally. I still hit the field now, even when I was on fire. So I hit the field once, twice a week. Sometimes if I'm excited about a guy, I hit the field with them. So I'm staying active in that sense, so I could use that experience in conversation. Because if I don't hit the field for like 3 months and I'm starting to hear certain negatives, it's like, oh, did the field change? Like what's going on? Like, all these things. But by me just, staying active in the field, hitting the field once a week or twice a week, or, once every 2 weeks or whatever, you stay active, you have more to talk about, more to relate with the customers. With the reps, like, oh yeah, when I hit the field, last week or yesterday or whatever, like, yeah, this happened and that happened, but this is how I overcome it. This is how I went over it. This is how, I handled it. So staying fresh, basically, because you don't want to give advice when the people know in your office you haven't hit the field in a while or whatever, and then the advice that you're giving them, they think like, oh yeah, that's the advice that worked for you 7 years ago or 5 years ago. So I like to stay fresh in the field, so that way whatever negative, like, yeah, I dealt with it too, and this is how I overcame it. This is what it is, this is how to go about it. So those are always great great ways to coach, because you're always basically fresh and new, basically. So you're giving them, the real, so to say.
Yeah. And it's all about being relatable. You know what I mean? We as leaders, I know a lot of you guys are developing mentality. You're developing your skills. You know more than you ever have. If you come across as a know-it-all that is angry and frustrated with people because they don't know it all yet, you know, people are going to look at you and be like, well, you know, screw you. Like what, like I'm new. And I think being a relatable leader, being someone who can put yourself in their shoes when you're micromanaging, right? Because we all need to learn how to micromanage and oversee details. And it's like, how do you do it while getting people to listen? How do you do it while getting people to understand why? And I think the first step of it is being relatable, and then remembering what it was like for you when they were going through the things that they're going through when you were in their shoes, and using that as a tool to coach people. And it will make people respect you and listen to you so much more, as opposed to coming across saying, hey, I was never late. Hey, I never screwed up. I never lost my attitude. I never, didn't work the territory properly. We all did. And some of us still do. So use that as a tool when it comes to micromanaging as well. LAMINE, you're an animal. I'm so happy to see you kicking ass. I know you've really worked hard, and you're still working really hard to, run your office and build your organization. Did you have any contact information that you wanted to leave behind on the last slide, or is it already in the emails?
Oh yeah, it was in the first slide. Let's see. There we go.
There it is.
That's email, phone number, anything you guys need. But like I said, all these things, like Van said, is just being honest with your situation. We all went through all these things. I tell everybody my first week in the field, I did 3 sales. So for a second week, I did 4. And then from there, I fixed what I needed to fix, and, I got better. So, it's just being honest with everybody and telling them, I went through the same thing. And like I said, micromanaging is, fixing what needs to be fixed, to get you to the next level. So as long as, you micromanage in all this aspect of your car ride, your business, your day, you're going to be great at the business and build a solid team and a solid foundation. So that's what it's all about.
Nice. The devil is in the details. You guys heard that a long time ago. You got to manage the details. That's where everything either succeeds or fails. And this is what LAMINE talked about. LAMINE, thank you so much for hopping on the call. We are so excited about 2022, everybody. And we kicked it off with one of the best leaders calls we've had in a while. So thanks everybody for hopping on. Have a great rest of your week. And we will see you guys in a couple weeks. Take care.